Hey, what's going on, family? It's Luclin here, and this is kind of a very odd situation that you see in front of you. You see me, and then you see a guy down here. And I'm going to introduce you to that guy right now. That guy down there is Joe Hills. And I met Joe Hills at PlayOnCon. I've heard of Joe Hills. He's been around. He is a YouTuber. He does have a YouTube channel. And for those of you that are curious about that YouTube channel, there is going to be a link in the description below. But that's not the reason why we're here. The reason why we're here is this, I said I met Joe Hills at PlayOnCon, and at PlayOnCon it was all about like different games, like, you know, like different board games, Dungeons and Dragons type games, just all kinds of cool games. Well, Joe Hill has been making a game for the last 2 years, and he brought it to PlayOnCon, and we all got a chance to see it. And yeah, all I can say is awesome. And I figured, you know, the best way to tell you guys about it, so he also did a Kickstarter. And this Kickstarter is to raise money to help him make this game. And it's not a massive amount of money. It's actually very, it's very little to ask for. And what this is going to help him do is fulfill his dream. This is his dream. This game he's been working on for the last 2 years with friends, and this is their dream. And I figured I wanted to show you guys and let you guys check it out for yourselves. And what better way to do it than bring Joe Hills here? So Joe, go ahead and take it over, bro.
Howdy, y'all. Joe Hills here from Nashville, Tennessee, and I'd like to thank Luclin for having me join you guys. This here is Pitfalls and Penguins, and what it is, it's a tabletop role-playing game, you know, like Dungeons and Dragons, where you make up a story and roll dice. And we, you know, a lot of people play Dungeons and Dragons, but a lot of people don't because they're scared of it. They're not scared of the dragons or the dungeons. They're scared of the rules. They're scared. They find it intimidating. We wanted to give Dungeons and Dragons essentially a fresh coat of paint and a goofier engine. And so we did that. We took out a lot of the rules that we thought were extra complex or extra confusing. And we brought everything from over here in Simulation Land a little bit this way toward Cartoony Town. And that's probably a funny way to name a town. But, you know, we do what we can here. Pitfalls and Penguins, though, we got rid of a lot of the rules like, for example, in D&D, when you roll a 1, it's just a critical failure, which is, it sounds depressing and boring and game-stopping.
And scary.
And scary, exactly. And, like, it can be, because if you roll a 1 when you're, like, trying to lockpick a door, it'd just be like, oh, no, my lockpick kit that was super expensive and my dad's and all this other stuff, and now it's broken in the door. Whereas in Pitfalls and Penguins, when you roll a 1, instead of a critical failure, it's more like a leprechaun wish. So instead of your lockpick kit breaking, for example, what might happen is the door might fly open and 3 guards run through being chased by an escaped prisoner. So now you have an additional problem, but at least the door's open, you know. It keeps the game moving. It keeps the game funny. My friends and I who have worked on this, we have a background in comedy. We've been writing comics for years, and we really wanted to give the game of Pitfalls and Penguins a improvisational comedy feel. So, you know, if you have a friend who wants to be an actor or just likes making funny voices and stuff, this is not going to be as scary as D&D. Also, you know, let's say that your little sister or your girlfriend or whatever, they kind of are interested, but they're just, whoa, way too much stuff in that game. Pitfalls and Penguins, we got some classes that are a little bit easier to play, or we've got some species that are a little bit more adorable. For example, you can play as a penguin. And I know a lot of guys are going to say, I don't want to play as a penguin. They're cute and soft and cuddleable. Well, you know what? They also have a species proficiency with chainsaws and hand grenades. So, you know,
Wow.
We're throwing you one there, guys. Not a hand grenade, but a bone.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we got other species, like you can play as a little rat. Oh, what were you going to say, Luke?
I was going to say the thing that I love about this idea, and show the book again. Show the book.
Yeah,
like, flip
I'll
through the
hold
book.
it.
Like, you guys look
Yes.
at this. Like, flip through the book. This is an actual, like, it's legit. It's there right in front of you. This is like the whole D&D handbook, and you've got it right here, the Pitfalls and Penguins. So we'll just call it P&P. But What I like about it is it's so out of the ordinary. It's not like your whole medieval theme or sci-fi theme. It's just a whacked out, really cool comedic theme, and it's what was so cool about it is I saw people making characters, which was Ari and Pause on Pause were making characters, and I was just like, this is awesome. And when I realized it was like completely legit, like when you showed me the book, I was like, wow, they really worked hard on this. Like you didn't have anything that was like written down on paper and it was just like a paper with writing on it. No, you have a completely printed book.
And now the thing about printing a book is printing one of these is super expensive because this is just a draft copy. And when you want to print one of a 250-page book, it's a lot more than $10. And so we don't even have the back cover on this. This is just something I want to be able to take to the con so that people like you could actually see this is legit. It's fine to say, yeah, you can download the PDF online. It's another to say you can flip through this right now in front of me. You can inspect this. And we're still adding a few more comics and illustrations to the book during the Kickstarter. But at this point, the book is pretty much done. We just need to get the money together to print essentially a few $1,000s worth of them because otherwise you just can't get the unit price low enough to be able to sell them and get by.
How many people are on your team? How many people do you have that are involved in this?
We have 4 people whose name are on the book. Okay. 2 of us are comedy writers who have been doing the comic Jack of All Blades and other comics in the series for like 5 to 7 years.
Wow.
The other 2 guys are friends of ours that we've known from college, and they're D&D experts, hardcore D&D mechanics nerds, because a lot of people try and write goofy or funny D&D variants, but they don't take into account that balancing and math is a big part of this.
Yep.
And so we've got 4 people who are like the core of that. But then we've also had friends who do play testing and whatnot. I did a Twitch TV stream every night while I was doing the main layout of the book, where we would have a half dozen to a dozen people in there every night watching me in Adobe InDesign. Now, I know hundreds of people might watch you play Minecraft, but having a dozen people watching me in Adobe InDesign, I was super flattered.
But that's pressure, too, because when you're, like, doing stuff on the fly like that's like, wow, that's cool, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, and so, like, but all of those people helped make the book because they would sit there watching me zoomed in, going through the tables and the paragraphs and putting stuff in, and if I made a mistake or a typo or something looked weird, you know, they would totally call me out on it, which is great when you're not sleeping enough because you're trying to get a 250-page book laid out.
I'm beyond impressed, like, completely. When you called me over to the table and I saw that book and you showed me the book and I put it in my hands and I flipped through it and I actually like read the different like classes and what you had in there, I was just like, wow, because I'm a huge D&D fan. I've been playing for a long time. 3.5 is my favorite edition, by the way, for people that are going to ask. And like the whole critical failure thing, I can totally relate to that because I have a story of when I was playing. I had a thief character named Luclin, of course, and I rolled
very strong.
I had dual wield daggers, and I had carrion brain crawler juice, which was on each of the blades, which is numbing juice, which numbs the body. And I was in a corridor, and there were kobolds in the corridor. There were 2 kobolds on each side of the corridor, left and right. And I rolled a critical. I rolled a critical miss. So I got a 1. Which is scary. At that point, I was like, oh, God, the DM's going to kill me. So, and basically he said, okay, what were you going to do? What was your plan? Well, I said I was going to come out of the shadows and I was going to run down the corridor and stab both of them like this with the brain juice and then keep running. So that would numb them, they'd fall down, and boom, we'd be done. Oh, he's like, yeah, cool, you can go ahead and do that. I was like, okay. He goes, but here's what happens. My way. So I'm running and I trip as I go to stab him and I stab myself. Double. Right here, I take the damage of both daggers, plus I'm laying in the corridor on the ground this way, and the kobolds are laughing at me. They think I'm dead, but I'm just numbed from the brain crawling juice. I can't do nothing the whole round. I'm watching all my buddies. I'm listening to them fight all the kobolds out there, and I'm looking like a freaking idiot. So I love your, excuse me, the way you do your criticals. I think that's really cool to do something like that. So I was really impressed. I mean, I was very impressed by everything you showed me.
Thank you. So is there anything else that you wanted to cover, or should I start the book up again, or?
Well, if there's certain things you want to talk about, like let's talk about a character class. Let's talk about a race. Let's talk about.
That's awesome. Yeah, I already mentioned, for example, penguins have natural proficiency with hand grenades and chainsaws. Rabbits, I love because they are super fast. They're tiny. They are literally rabbits. They are not anthropomorphic. You are playing an
So they're
actual.
just a little rabbit.
You're playing a little rabbit. And, for example, as a spellcaster, it's pretty obvious, like, okay, well, you don't have to be a big guy to cast spells. You could be a rabbit and cast spells. But you could also, for example, play a ladder fighter, which is kind of our kind of rogue mashup class, where they're like the more agile parkour class. Now, if you play as a rabbit ladder fighter, you can, for example, just strap little metal claws to your paws and just hop around, like getting on people's faces and just slashing them, for example.
Wow.
You can play with a crossbow mounted to your back. We have special rabbit weapons. So, you can have a crossbow mounted to your back and just, point at people and fire it by kicking your hind legs, that sort of thing.
I think that's so cool.
And from a roleplay perspective, it's really fun, too, because, with traps and puzzles and whatnot, having characters that are differently sized.
Like this small, you can actually crawl into places, like in the little, that's awesome. That's so cool.
You've even got a burrow speed as a rabbit, just because you're a rabbit. We're not, like I said, we're not anthropomorphizing. You're not Bugs Bunny. You are a bunny.
What's funny about this, you're talking about like being a rabbit, and it's like I keep thinking in my head, well, yeah, that's really cool, but what's really cool is it's legit and it's in a book, and that's what's so cool. And it's like it's got everything, its own stats, it's got everything, and that's what I think makes this so like awesome. That it's not like it's an idea in your head; it's actually feasible. It's in that book, and like that's what they're looking for the Kickstarter, is to make more of these books and not a draft. So to make more of these books so they can get them out there to people and people can see how cool this game really is.
Another class, or a class that I love, one that's near and dear to my heart, being from Tennessee, is the redneck class. And this was one of the earliest core ideas that we had for this. Because in our comic, the orcs are a bunch of rednecks, who are always drinking beer and shooting fireworks and just being unsafe generally. Yeah. And we kind of realized, okay, there's something here for actually making a game. And so, for example, an orc who is about to do something that would be a danger to themselves or others can ask, they have a class ability called Hold My Beer, and watch this. And so they hand their beer to somebody else in the party or just a passerby, and then whatever they do is about to either be a critical success or a critical failure.
Hold my beer and watch this.
And I like to describe this class as obnoxiously effective. They're not necessarily the most straightforward because they're always doing stuff like that. You can duct tape items together that shouldn't be duct taped together, that sort of thing.
The MacGyver. That's hilarious.
Yeah, exactly.
That's hilarious. Now, guys, listen to me here, and really listen to me. For those of you out there that are closed-minded about stuff like this, I really would suggest to open your mind to this, because this really opens up to a whole new type of gameplay. Like it's really, really cool to think of these different classes that you would have never even thought would come together and just have these outrageous parties that are going on these quests. That is just like, so if you're a big D&D fan, now the way that you wrote this, you did tell me this, that they released like the source core, and that gave you the ability to actually break off from that, right?
Yes. The game is open game and licensed. And so, for example, we can't legally say it's a D20 system, but it does involve rolling D20s, is kind of how that goes. But yeah, so we didn't have to rewrite a lot of the core mechanics of the game. We at least had a good starting position where we weren't infringing on anyone's copyright, which is excellent of them to do.
That's awesome.
But yeah, we had to, for example, we streamlined a lot of things like falling, because the rules for something like falling might not necessarily be easy to, for people to just pick up normally. And just like things like that, they should be pretty much, you can use your mind. Okay, what happens when you fall? Just play. And so we kind of rewrote it to be more intuitive. We combined a bunch of the skills into, like, for example, visions, like we essentially just have one skill for awareness, which is like spot checks, hearing things, all sorts of other stuff.
That's cool.
Just so that way players don't have to keep track of as many things on the sheet.
Very cool.
But yeah, having that 3.5 open gaming licensed core documents, that just gave us a game essentially that was already playable. But then we spent 2 years making
built off of and completely
fun and playable,
that's
and
awesome.
and rewriting it and stuff. Yeah,
that's what I think is just so awesome. How much work you guys have put into this, and like it's I can't say it enough. It's so legit. It's so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really cool. Like I can't wait till you get those printed out so I can get my copy, because I'll be playing with little Ethan, and because that seems like a game. Honestly, this is what's cool. I mean, even though it's what I think I played, like I said, I played D&D, and I've been wanting to get him into D&D. But this is a game right here that I think I would probably set aside D&D and just play it and try it out and really see how the feel is. Because I would love to just play a little rabbit and jump around and go through holes, and I think it would just be awesome. Like seriously.
Yeah. Well, it gives you a chance to stretch your mind, even for a hardcore D&D guy. You know, people are going to want to do something a little bit goofy every so often, you know? Like, let's say that you've got your group and you meet every week, but December's just always horrible because half people are gone at this point or that point. They got Thanksgiving. So you know what? If a group like that wanted to just say, okay, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, we're just going to play Pitfalls and Penguins for a few sessions. It's a lot easier for people to drop in, drop out, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Real goofy, real fun. Just mix it up. And we're hoping that people... You know, we're not asking anyone to stop playing D&D and only play our game. Yeah. We're asking them to consider mixing ours in with the other stuff they do.
Yeah. Well, I think personally, and I'm just going to say this personally, from what I saw at PlayOnCon, you guys have a hell of an idea.
Thank you.
You have, and it's not even an idea anymore. It's right there. It's in a book. So you have a, how should I say, a hell of a product. That's what I should say, because it's so awesome, man. I'm so proud of you for what you guys have done and how far you've come with this. It's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, we are all incredibly proud of getting it to this point. Honestly, anytime you work on a project for 2 years, you start to worry at some point or another. I don't know, man. Like, I know it's good, but can we get it done? And we're there. And like I said, we just need help from folks to get us across the finish line with covering the printing costs on the Kickstarter. And either way, though, the PDF is available for free for people to check out.
Yeah.
It's close to the final draft. The final draft, like I said, more illustrations, more comics, just stuff we didn't have in time to get the book for the printed for the cons that we were doing this summer.
Yeah. But like I said, man, I'm impressed. If you want to read any more or do anything else, you're more than welcome to.
Let's see here. One of my personal favorite things about the Redneck class was we replace the Redneck is kind of loosely based on the Ranger.
Okay. And
the Ranger would have a favorite enemy, somebody that they hunt or whatever.
Yeah.
And we decided to give them a class ability called Bigotry. Now, a Redneck can choose not to be bigoted against anything, but they're penalized in diplomacy checks against other Rednecks at that point. Although other people will generally agree he's a pretty okay guy.
Yeah.
But if you do choose a specialized enemy or to be bigoted against, you get a bonus against attack rolls and damage, that sort of thing. And we have a comic in the book that I'm going to hold up for you here, where I'm not sure how well this is going to read. He says, "Are you one of them half orcs?" And the guy says, "No, I'm a quarter orc." And he says, "Well, you're okay then. I hate your dad, though." And the guy says, "Yeah, me too." So just little humor stuff like that throughout. But yeah, we got probably a dozen comics or so already in there, and we're trying to add more. So, but we're thrilled.
How many classes are there, or races? How many races and classes are there? And
I was going to say, I think that there's about 8 of each. Honestly, I haven't counted them.
Okay, that's fine.
It just hasn't come up now that I think about it.
What I plan on doing is I'm going to link everything in the description. I'm going to link your Kickstarter. I'm going to link your YouTube channel so they can go over there and they can check all this stuff out for themselves. I'm pretty sure there's a ton of information on the Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And pitfallsandpenguins.com, you can download the PDF for free. It's got a link to the Kickstarter as well.
That'll go in there, too.
Great, thank you.
Very cool. Yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about? Floor's yours.
Thank you. At this point, few other little things. One class for those of you guys who really like customization is the scientist. Art Frederick, one of the writers and illustrators of the book, is actually a nuclear pharmacist, and so we spend way too much time talking about science stuff. So the scientist class is essentially somebody who can craft their own weapons out of this huge list of components that each have kind of a different cost, and the higher level you are. So, you could, for example, start adding scopes to things that shouldn't have scopes to increase your accuracy, because there's nothing funnier than a flamethrower chainsaw with a scope. You just can't beat that. Just goofy stuff like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Let me just sat this guy in real quick.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome.
And then we got other race-related, or we call them species because it's a little bit clearer
so
that they're...
That's cool.
Yeah, just because like rabbits and penguins aren't really a different race than humans or quarter orcs. We've got a robot species, though.
Cool.
One of the things that's pretty fun about them is that you can play a robot shapeshifter and be able to transform into something that's one size larger or smaller than you are normally. Okay. So, for example, you could turn in, if you're a human robot, you could turn into a motorcycle, or if you're a rabbit robot, you could, because essentially robots normally take the appearance of a different species when they're just walking around normally. They're humanoid or rabbitoid or whatever the word for that is.
Okay.
So if you normally would look like a rabbit, you can transform into a toaster or something and then shoot little missiles out of your toast
That's
slots.
awesome. That's really cool.
Well, Paws's character, and this is what I love about playing this game and doing this game with people. When we're rolling Paws's character, he's like, I want to be a robot and I want to transform into something. I'm like, well, Paws, what do you want to transform into? He's like, I don't know yet. And after about 15 minutes of brainstorming, he's just like, I want to turn into a deep fryer. And we're just like, a deep fryer? Okay.
Paul,
well, you're
awesome.
You're gonna be stationary when you transform into a deep fryer. And he's like, well, okay. And I'm like, well, wait. And I talked to one of our rules guys, CP Stanford. I'm like, wait a second. If somebody got thrown into the deep fryer, how much damage does that do per round? And he's just like, well, boiling oil is technically hotter than boiling water.
Yeah.
But boiling water is 60-10 per round. And so, we'll just go with that. For a level 1 character, you're doing pretty good if you're doing that much damage because someone gets thrown into you. That was kind of, we tend to hand wave things if they're absolutely ludicrous to the point of hilarity. And granted, the guy would still have to pass grapple
awesome
and everything.
Getting
thrown into the deep fryer would be difficult. But, if somebody gets away with it, you should have the effects of being thrown in a deep fryer.
That's and it's so cool about that is it's just so out of the box thinking that it's like wow, and you're like, you see a little robotic and he's a little deep fryer and you're like, what is that? And like maybe an orc or someone steps in and just burns the poop out of their foot. That's just so cool.
Oh yeah, and we've got all sorts of great stuff like that where we're essentially trying to give people a framework for telling the sorts of crazy stories that they don't get to tell normally.
Yeah. I just like
just having fun laughing with your friends.
So out of the ordinary. And I think a lot of people, and here's the thing, too many people are so used to the whole D20, D&D, and all the different games that are out there. And it's like, because they're so like, they all go on the same, the same line. So you have your sci-fi games, you have your Western, you have your, you have your medieval, you have your fan, you know what I mean? You have those.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, this is so out of the ordinary. I think like, I'm hoping people will give it a chance and at least click on the link below and just see what they have to offer and see how cool this is. I mean, this game really pumped me when I saw it. I was like, wow, this is really cool. Because what's cool about it is any game like this that you play goes off your imagination. If you suck with imagination, then don't play the game. Because I mean, I know I've played D&D for years, and the thing is that like, it's all imagination. And when I go play D&D for the whole day for, let's say, 10 hours, and I get home, I'm drained because of my imagination just completely picturing everything as we're doing it. And I feel that's what's so awesome about this. This takes it a step even further because it's like, you're like, okay, well, I could see a thief with an orc or a kobold because that's stuff you're exposed to. And now this stuff you're exposed to because you know about it. It's in your world. You know, a little rabbit. You got a little robot. I mean, it's really cool, and it's a great idea.
Yeah, thank you. And we're, in terms of just the, sorry, like, I'm just, there's so much stuff going on in my head right now just because I'm mentally running through the entire game.
Yeah.
But, just a few other funny classes and stuff like that. For example, you can play as a cameraman. We replaced the bard because in our setting, we do have essentially a nascent film industry. And so, for example, much like the bard, they amplify or adjust what other people are doing in some way. So, for example, we've got an ability called bullet time where the cameraman can choose somebody and have them dodge arrows,
Nice.
Or even bullets, because we also have guns in here for the rednecks. We've also got stuff like the camera adds 10 pounds. So if an enemy's standing on a rickety structure or something like that, you can just point the camera at them, boom, collapse out under them.
Interesting.
Let's see. I'm just kind of flipping through here. But yeah, it's the whole game is just designed to be kind of an exciting randomly, or not even random. It's because it's structured, but an exciting just mashup of the ideas that we've spent years developing for our comic. Because when we started writing it, Art was just like, okay, well, I hate fantasy comics or fantasy games where every city has a different name that you can't pronounce. It's got a bunch of E's and L's and apostrophes. And so it's like, okay, the starting human city in this, Detroit.
So you're using when you do this, you're using actual locations. And we kind of created a fantasy world where we gave the cities the names of American Midwest towns. Okay.
So, we've got a place called Cleveland. That's nothing at all like the real Cleveland.
Like Cleveland. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's people can pronounce it.
What time frame, may I ask?
The way that the setting is built, essentially, the world has had pretty much everything that we have achieved through magical means.
Yeah.
But there's been kind of a recent just gradual decline in magical power across the board, and so they're starting to turn to technology to fill some of the gaps, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And so anything that should exist, like, for example, they have they have magically powered computers. And so as magic is failing, they're starting to try and figure out how do you do computers without magic?
Yeah.
We don't know yet, but we'll figure it out.
The rednecks will duct tape stuff together.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of stuff where it's one of those things where it's just more cost effective to hire a guy to stand in your warehouse and keep it cool than just using magic to just keep the temperature at 40 degrees than to install giant chillers. Like people there are some people who are working on the concept of refrigeration using mechanical compressors and whatnot because they think it's, a neat thing to work on. But everyone's kind of concerned about the economic viability of the project because you can hire one guy to stand in there and just keep it cold all day. Yeah. Switch them out every 8 hours, that sort of thing. And so a lot of the magic in our world is very productive almost. It's stuff like, what would you need? What sort of magic abilities would you need to be a fireman? Okay, you'd need to be able to breathe in smoke. You'd need to be able to see in a dark building. You'd need to be able to be protected or insulated from heat. You'd need to be able to break doors. You'd need to be able to prop up pillars or beams that are about to collapse, so you can get people out. And so, for example, fire mages in our set, and most of them have served at some point as volunteer firemen. And so they're the only mages that get a proficiency with the fire axe.
Interesting.
Not that they're going to be beating people with them all the time, but it's an interesting channeling instrument just, for casting spells with, you got this huge fire axe, or even just for practical purposes, like, okay, I got to bust down a door. Sometimes magic is the best thing. Sometimes you just need an axe,
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
That sort of stuff.
That's cool. Like I said, it's so out of the ordinary, way out of the box. I really, really love the idea, and I love that it's not an idea anymore. It's actually a product that is, that is awesome. So what I want to ask you guys out there that are watching this, please give it a chance. Go check out his Kickstarter. This is this man's dream. Him and his friends have been working on this for 2 years. If you feel that this is something that that you think would be cool, hey, feel free to, go over to his Kickstarter, check it out, and help him out. So that's all I really want to say. I am very honored to know Joe Hills, and I can't wait until I can have my own copy in my hand where I can hold it here and I can say, I got it, because I'm going to buy one for sure. So yeah, I mean, that's all I can really say, you guys. Joe, dude, I don't know what else to say. I just think it's very awesome that you guys are doing this.
All I can say is it's wonderful, having spent 2 years and so many hours on a project like this, to have people like you who have been playing D&D forever acknowledge that it's actually good. And for you to promote the project like this is the biggest compliment and the biggest vindication of my work on this project that I've experienced yet. So thank you so much for this today.
You're welcome, bro. Seriously, you are welcome. Everybody, please feel free. All links will be in the description. Please check out his YouTube channel. He's got some very funny videos on there. He has a really, I love your style of editing, by the way. It's really cool.
Thank you.
And just go check it out. Check out his Kickstarter. Go to his webpage. Just check those things out. And I want to introduce you guys, family, to Joe Hills. So he is now an official family member. So you guys go give him some family love. And that's it. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks, Joe, very much, bro, for being here. We're out.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
Bye.